Ever wonder how three mortgage brokers in different cities manage to grow their business, hire a shared underwriter, and take real vacations without burning out? In this episode, I sit down with Jason Small, a former restaurant manager who entered the mortgage business in 2020 when everything shut down and is now scaling with systems and strategy. And I absolutely love this conversation. Jason shares how he was stagnant for 2 years as a part-time mortgage broker and how he was able to double his production 2 years in a row once he'd made some adjustments. Shares how he made some cold calls to realtors, what he did in specific numbers of how many calls he made, how many people presentations he did. We also really dive into how he's able to build this business where he's sharing an underwriter with two other people, and it's working so well in terms of one of their one of the partners went away for 3 weeks and was able to basically turn off their computer and not have to work. And Jason has been in the business that long, only a few years, but I've known brokers that have been doing this a long time and still can't take a proper holiday. If you would like to take a holiday at some point, if you want to learn how to scale and do it efficiently and for a low cost, you're going to love this conversation I have with Jason. Hey, I'm Scott Beckford. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast. And every week we bring you podcasts and content to help you improve your mortgage business. This episode is sponsored by Ownwell. Ownwell is an amazing tool for Canadian mortgage brokers. It allows homeowners to monitor their home equity and buying power on a monthly basis. It creates these really slick reports that have a high click rate because it's about the homeowner's property and their mortgage, and it creates tons of conversations. It's also a great way for you to adopt databases because if you don't have a database, you can use this to adopt other people's databases. Check them out at ownwell.ca. And let's check out this conversation out with Jason. Hey, Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Scott, how's it going?
Fantastic. So, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got in the mortgage biz.
Yeah, so I actually started in the restaurant industry. I actually ran in Eastside Mario's here in Sudbury. And then 2020 happened and the restaurant world shut down. And I was in the process of interviewing with BMO at the time. And then they obviously put on a hiring freeze. And I had a friend of a friend that had just started underwriting for a mortgage broker. Kind of heard a little bit about what they did and then decided to get my license.
And are you glad now that you didn't take the BMO job, you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
Best thing
you
that ever
better.
happened.
Yeah. Best thing is that shut down and also that you are no longer working, it was probably, how long did you work in the restaurant business?
Yeah, so I was in it for like 5 years, and then I was in management for the last 3 years, and then kind of even after I got my license, I think I fully got out of the restaurant industry in 2022.
Right. Okay. And then so when you got in the mortgage biz, did you start full time, part time? Walk me through what happened there
Yeah,
and what that looked like.
yeah, for sure. So I got licensed, I want to say October or November of 2020. And went into it part time. I was still managing the restaurant. And then I would say my first 2 years, I did 15 deals each year.
Yeah.
And after, yeah, so end of 2022 is when I jumped into mortgages full time.
Okay. 2022 and the first 2 years and the deals you were getting, where were they coming from in the first couple of years?
Yeah, so first year, when I first started, I found some like marketing agency. I ran digital leads.
Yeah.
And so closed a couple deals from that. But I guess more importantly, a realtor had relocated to Sudbury and he saw my leads and reached out to me. We chatted,
Mm-hmm.
and so I got some business from him. And then that was primarily kind of what ran my business the first 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, okay. So when did you join Bricks?
Yeah, so I joined Bricks in November or December 2022.
Yeah.
Just from listening to the podcast, obviously, like my business was like stagnant. Like I'd done the same amount of deals the first 2 years, and was really looking for a way to grow. And heard about the 100-day challenge and kind of the sales strategies that you had to be using.
Right. Okay, cool. And then so then what happened in that next year? I want to go you are one of the few people who've taken really good notes on your data. So that's why I do want to chat about that, but then I also want to talk more about what you're doing now and because you made some pretty cool changes to your business, but just maybe we'll start there. So walk me through kind of what happened in that first year.
Yeah, so in that first year, I really focused, like starting in January, I focused on doing the 4 slide. I'm just gonna flip
Yeah.
back my numbers here. So yeah, I just reached out to a lot of different realtors. So I actually called 260 different realtors that year, most of which were
Yeah.
just cold calls. I presented my preferred realtor program, which is like our 4 slide. to 96 different realtors that year.
Yeah.
Of that, I had 83 that said they would refer to me or put me on their list. I had
Yeah.
32 that actually sent me leads that year. And then I closed deals with 9 realtors that year.
Right. But then, and more importantly, what did that do to your number of units you did, number of files?
Yeah. So from that year, I doubled my business. So I went from 15 to 30 units.
Right.
And then kind of just from that same, then in the next year, without doing as many calls and stuff, that transitioned and grew organically and went from 30 to 60 deals. In
So
2020.
double 60, and then this year you're what you're on trend for about 75 approximately,
Yeah,
based
so
on kind of
I'm
how
thinking
things
I'm
are
going to
going.
do at least 75. I'm targeting 85, but I think I'm still
Yeah,
going to do 85.
that's amazing. So you just did okay, and then let me ask you about that. So you had reached out to 260. Like, how many calls would that be a day, and how many like, and was it compressed over a shorter period of time, or did you do it over 12 months?
Yeah, so I would say most of that was like concentrated in the first 4 months. I would
Yeah.
say about 20 calls a day for sure was like my target. At the time, my youngest daughter wasn't in daycare until about March. So I remember like I would pack. I knew when she napped at the same time each day. So I would pack as many like presentations and calls into that 2 hour period as I could.
Right. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing you got to do though, is that if you're a parent and you have other responsibilities, so you just scheduled around your daughter's nap.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's great. And then now, yeah, and then so now you have gone. I mean, your business is that many files is starting to get too many for you to handle. When did you decide you need to hire help?
Yeah, so I last year, October, November, I actually did so I think in 3 months I did 27 deals, and that was crazy.
Yeah.
In the fall market, which tends to be one of the busier times in my market for me
Hmm.
each year. So that was when I was like, okay, I think I need to bring someone on. So I partnered with 2 other brokers at Bricks. We hired a full time underwriter who started in January.
Okay, let's talk about that. So how, because what that, I think it's a great step for a lot of people, especially if you're, I don't want to take on the full salary. So you guys basically share this one person, and it's a third of the cost for each of you. You guys just divide the cost equally, or do you divide it based on files?
Yeah, so pretty closely. So we do divide the salary portion of the cost equally, and then the bonus is based off of units. So then we'll just take the percentage of like closed of funded deals. So if I funded,
If you close more, then you pay more of the bonus because you've
yeah,
taken up more of the time,
yeah. So we'll just take the
right?
percentage. So if I funded 40% of the deals, then I'll pay 40% of the bonus.
And then how many files do you think your underwriter can manage? Have you guys figured that out yet?
Yeah. So right now, let's see.
I love your numbers, man. Well, well, we were chatting earlier. You have 5 kids, so you got to pay attention to things.
Yeah, yeah, and I got to write it down because I can't remember everything.
Good for
Um,
you.
so I would say right now we're probably funding anywhere from like 12 to 15 deals a month. And I
Yeah.
would say that because we also changed CRMs kind of as we brought her on. So I think that we are going to be launching like a we've put in our systems and stuff, and she's really system oriented. So once we get that like up to speed, I think that easily she could probably do 20 to 30 deals a month.
Yeah, 20 for sure, 20 plus. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's great. So the three of you are able to share assistant. And if you're listening to this, it's a great way for you to move into getting a system without taking on the full. And you can hire a, a more high quality person. I'm not saying that
absolutely.
there's
And it's not a
a
a
more
big
experience, not quality. That sounds subjective. A more experienced person who can help you. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah, and it's not a big
Yeah.
of like leap of faith because you're not like
Hmm.
taking on the salary all by yourself.
So then what systems and processes you put in place in order to, because again, when you have three different brokers, you guys are in three different markets as well, right?
Correct.
How do you maintain some sort of consistency given that you're sharing this person?
Yeah, so we all have kind of before we brought on the underwriter, we all sat together and kind of put together one client journey. It's almost the same. There's like a couple of small tweaks between us, but pretty much we all have the exact same client journey, so that she can follow the same process. We all are using the MyBroker Pro CRM. So that allows her to kind of like stay organized and she's not looking in different spots. So from her one account, she can access all three of our CRMs. And then we're in
Right.
the process of like automating a lot of like the emails and stuff that would go out throughout the process.
Right. And then, yeah, it's nice that the person, if you are going to share an assistant, having one platform that they're using is better than switching between them. And the fact that you guys had enough sense to sit down and map out the customer journey. So when you walk me through that, when you decided to do that, did you guys just get in a room together and then go, here's what I would like to do? What do you like to do? How did you figure out what that client journey should look like?
Yeah, so we just jumped in a Zoom room because obviously we're all in different parts of the
Oh, you
country.
didn't even meet in person. That's awesome.
Yeah, and actually, one of them, Greg's actually in Vancouver, and me and Jesse are here in Ontario, so we're not even the same time zone.
Right. I mean, yeah, so it's even more difficult. This is the great part about the business that we're in. I mean, literally you guys can, the three amigos, you guys can build this fantastic relationships as well as share an assistant and be really far apart from each other, but
Yeah,
it all works. And where's your assistant located?
she's actually in Ancaster, so just outside Hamilton.
Right. There you go. Okay. So walk me through what happened on this call when you guys figured out your client journey.
Yeah, so essentially, and it was many calls, but
Yeah.
we
That's fair. Yeah.
we kind of all had not like a similar process because we all Bricks agents and kind of went through the Bricks 100-day challenge. So we did
Hmm.
have similar aspects, and we really just kind of sat down and went from the very beginning of the process of what we all did, and then we just kind of took because we bits of us or each of us did a different part better than the other person. So we kind of just took
Right.
the
Okay.
best.
Interesting. So like, what was your part? And then like, what was the part that they copied more of yours of, just out of curiosity?
Yeah. Me, I'm not even really sure
You're not sure.
exactly. I don't even know if I had the best, part. I think like the one thing that like stood out to me in the process is that like Greg's emailed like so I found my emails were very direct,
Hmm.
and Greg's emails were great, more detail. Um, I think something that I guess we took from me is that I use TextExpander. So
Hmm.
instead of typing out the same emails, now we all share my TextExpander account. So
Right. So
text
you guys have the same templates even.
yeah, it's just we're all logged into my account. So she can
Yeah.
use the same code for each of us, and then it automatically populates the email. And she just got
And then if you guys okay, explain that to people. I know what you're talking about, but somebody listening is like, what is this sorcery of text expender? So
yeah,
maybe explain what it is and what the benefits are, especially if you have are trying to share templates and responses.
yeah. So TextExpander essentially it allows you to like save emails or any kind of text. It doesn't necessarily have to be an email, and then you can just put in like a short form abbreviation. You type it in, and then it automatically pre-populates that email. And you can like set it up so that it has like blanks. So for instance, like on a pre-approval email, she'll just put like a 4-letter abbreviation, and then it'll pop in the email, and then it'll automatically prompt you to put like the client's name, the amount the amount the client's pre-approved for, and then the rest of the email is like instantly in there. So she types in two things, and the email's done.
Right. Yeah, they're fantastic tools for saving time
Yeah,
in terms of, and and if you send the same email 2 or 3 times, you'd be it like could be, hey, how does the first time buyer program work, or how does RSPs? You
yeah,
can have a response typed up once, and then. But the cool part, when I was playing with these when they first came out, they didn't have the same ability to customize. So the way that what you're describing is it drops in the template, but then there's key spots where it's either the mortgage amount's different or the name is different, and it prompts you to just fill those in so that the template looks so that it looks like you just typed it out, but it took you seconds instead of. And then you don't even have to go look for it
yeah,
because it runs in the background, and you can be looking in Outlook or Gmail. It doesn't matter what program you're in. If you type in that short code, that it's replacing it with that whole block of text, right?
yeah, for sure. And the one thing I
Yeah.
learned from using TextExpander is you want to start your codes with a key that you're never going to use, because initially I didn't do that, and then I would just be typing things out, and then
And
those.
then bam, it's all of a sudden, right? So what do you use?
Yeah, so we use like the little up arrow on me. It's over my number six, to lead every code, because that's a button I'll never use. And then after that, we just
Oh,
do 3 letters.
oh yeah, that's actually a good idea. You're right, because otherwise, if you put something in there that like you could end up in. Okay, cool. What other stuff have you guys done to be able to work well together? Do you guys do any sort of regular check-ins, or what's that look like for? How do you keep it working? Sounds like you did a lot of thinking up front. You
Yes.
got on the same page as your client journey. You shared templates and resources so that would all go faster. you share the cost, which is brilliant, but how do you keep it working and how do you make adjustments? Because this is obviously business changes and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So at the beginning, well, we stopped because of somebody went on vacation. But what we were doing is we were meeting every Monday as a group, like all four of us. We called it, I think it's
With your underwriter?
yeah, underwriter and the three
Yeah.
brokers. And then just because at this time we're still building our CRM, like to customize it. It's like we have a CRM already that's functioning and has a lot of automation, but we're like tailoring it to like our businesses. So we meet weekly to just kind of discuss our goals, what we wanted to move forward, any like issues we were having with like processes. Um, and so we kind of revamped a lot of things just from that weekly meeting. Things that we've done to like speed up the processes, like for compliance. We created like a database. I think we were going to move this to TextExpander as well. So like for like Scotia, instead of like having to like retype everything in the disclosure to borrow for each section, for Scotia we have like a template that's used, so she can just drop it in for all like Scotia HELOC deals or all Merrick's deals or all whatever lender.
Right. Amazing. So then you guys still meet once a week, or what's that look like?
Yeah. So one of us was on holidays for the last month or 3 weeks, so we covered that person while they were gone. So I think just with like that busy.
Okay, hold on. This is also cool. So what happens there? So let's say because the three of you are using the same assistant and the same processes, if somebody goes on vacation, do you guys cover their files?
Yeah. So we'll cover the files. So essentially, what we did is the two other brokers like split up the work. So we obviously didn't like one of us wasn't picking up a whole new entire workload, and our underwriter does so much of the process already that it wasn't like we weren't taking on a lot more work essentially.
And then, okay, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do with the pay on that? Do you guys
Yeah, so we're all going to cover each other. So what we did is a deal. I think we did 25% on like a split. So
the person on vacation
still gets
75%.
Yeah,
but the thing is, you all do it for each other. So then,
yeah, so we
you
weren't
still get
really
paid some money for your time, but
yeah,
it's right.
And if it was a client that was pre-approved, actually, we only like already pre-approved. So at that point, like our underwriter is doing most of the work. Like we're gonna have very minimal work to do. We're just doing a 10% split.
So this person that went on vacation, how much time were they able to be off?
Yeah, so I would say he probably like he would check in every couple of days and stuff like that. But he was off definitely most. Like he had very minimal work to do on his time.
You know what I love about this? The simplicity and elegance of what you guys have put together it's impressive. Most people, I know people that are in business. You guys are all newer in the business within the last few years, but people who've been in the business a long time haven't figured out how to do this well. And you guys have figured out how to not only cover for each other, reduce your costs, but and take holidays. Like it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And when is your holiday coming?
In October. So I'm very excited for that. Because I did go on holidays in the winter just before, like the week before the underwriter started, and last year, and I worked throughout the holidays. So I'm definitely looking forward to like having a family holiday and not working.
Not having to work. I mean, that's one of them is that like people think about when they get in the mortgage business that they join because I want freedom. I want to be able to pick up my kid from school. They say all these things, but then and if they are fortunate enough to get busy, then it's like, shoot, I have no time. And you become a victim of your own success.
Yeah.
And when you go on vacation, you take your laptop and you work and you're doing calls and sending emails and your family is thinking, what are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, man, for doing that.
Yeah. I definitely remember being on holidays and being on the beach and submitting files.
And sending emails. Okay. So what does your underwriter do? When do they pick up the file? What in the process and what do you do?
Yeah. So first up, like lead comes in, I'll do a discovery call with the client. I actually typically will take my application on my discovery call. Typically, I can still do that in 20 minutes and do my discovery call. From there, I'll send like a list of documents that we'll need to like complete a pre-approval. Most of my business is purchases, so we're doing pre-approvals. And then once the documents come in is when the underwriter would take over. So as soon as we receive documents, she'll underwrite the file.
Like kind of do a cleanup pre-approval, look at it, make sure that stuff matches what it's supposed to be, and then give it to you so that you can. I always think of like a sous chef, and you're the chef, and they're cutting up all the vegetables so you can make the soup.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, yes, and then if it's done properly, you can make more soup. And
Yeah,
less stress, right?
exactly. And then so yeah, as soon as she'll
And you're a
run.
restaurant guy, so that's like a perfect metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah, so she'll underwrite the file, prep a budget sheet, and then we'll do like a strategy call just to kind of go over the pre-approval, or if it's like a refinance, like a live file, we'll go over it with them. And then it goes back to the underwriter for submission, and then she handles it till like funding. We'll jump in like here and there if need be for like quick combos, but pretty much from the time it's submitted to funding, she runs the show.
Right. And so what's the okay, at some point you guys are all growing your business. Every one of you, your all volume is going up. What's the next, like, how do you keep this from breaking?
Yeah, so we've already kind of talked about that and kind of talked a bit about with our underwriter, what she likes doing in the process. And so I think what we've decided is the next step would be to bring someone on to do just compliance.
Right. Just a compliance person. I think that's smart because what I see the one caveat I have to shared assistant is that if people, a shared assistant usually means that brokers can be more productive because often they didn't have one at all. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much more business I can do. And then at some point though, you can overwhelm them. So it's good that you guys are already talking about a plan for that and
Yeah,
essentially being able to scale, right?
yeah, for sure. And then obviously like keeping the parts of the process that she likes to do, I think is important because obviously we want to make sure that she's happy as well.
Who? So on one of the questions, this has been I love these conversations. I had no idea of that we were going to go down this path, but I love this path that we're on. Who did the when you guys did the hiring? How did you find this person? What was that like?
Yeah, we actually just posted on the ILMB Facebook page. And
And did you who's did the interviews and stuff? Did you guys do them together? Did you get many applicants?
yeah, so we all sat in on the interviews and kind of asked questions. We would like divvy it up into three sections and all ask a section, or sometimes we divvy it up into two, and then one person would take notes. And I think we did probably somewhere between 10 and 15 interviews. And then we had some.
I think this is where this is an important distinction. I think this is where brokers make a mistake is they usually wait too long to hire. Then when they get ready to hire, they're just like, "Oh, thank God you're here," and they don't take the time to do enough interviews and review. And the fact that it was three of you, so that there wouldn't be any unconscious bias that one of you could bring because you're going to level each other out by saying, "Wait a second, did you notice this?"
Yeah,
Did,
for sure.
yeah,
And
interesting. Okay, so you did 10 plus interviews, 10,
yeah,
15 interviews.
10 plus interviews. There was definitely more resumes that we didn't interview as well. So we kind of like picked what we thought best had the most experience and kind of best fit what we were looking to do. And then yeah, we did one interview. We planned on doing two interviews with like the top 3 to 5 candidates, but after the first interview, we were like all like kind of in consensus that
This was the person.
this was the person. So we had another interview to kind of make sure that and like presented what our plan was. Obviously, there's 3 brokers, so like we didn't want to be
Right.
overwhelmed. So we presented like what our plan was going to be to kind of merge our businesses together and kind of what
Yeah.
our role would be in that.
So that they knew they weren't getting on board to some crazy train of everybody wanting something done different. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And then we also didn't want to like waste time if she was like, no, that's not a fit for me. Then we wanted it was like the second interview was more like we were interviewing to her.
Right. You were kind of selling her the job a little bit, making
Yeah.
sure she was on board. Okay. So what are the 3 parts? You said there were 3 parts to the interview. What did you do? What were the 3 sections?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Do you remember?
I think first part was just kind of like standard, like get to know the person. We followed the Bricks interview guide.
Okay.
So I can't remember. We did some.
All right. So you used our guide, and then that you
Yeah.
basically
Yeah, like the job posting, everything we did was exactly kind of what you guys had taught.
right. Yeah, I know that. And then did you do any technical questions like underwriting and because sometimes people miss that. One time, so I made this mistake because again, I made every mistake under the book. I remember I hired someone once because I was just drowning, and they worked for a very busy broker, and I thought, oh my god, if they can work for them, I just didn't do the technical questions. Just said you're hired. They came to work for me, and the first day I realized, oh my gosh, this person, what they did for that person was very limited. They could barely use at the time I was using Philogix. They couldn't barely use Philogix. I'm like, this is not going to work. And then, yeah, it ended up being not a good fit because I assumed because they worked for this busy broker that they actually were doing more of the work, but I didn't ask enough questions or do any technical analysis, technical questions. So what kind of technical questions did you guys ask?
Yeah, so we did definitely do some technical questions as far as like what lenders they were familiar with, what they would do in certain situations. Um,
Yeah.
like if a deal got rejected, how would you handle that? Just kind of what they would do in certain situations. Um, she had a much like bigger background in B and private lending, and most of
Yeah.
our business is A, so we didn't like get into like because A is a little bit different in kind of the insured files. So we do a lot of insured
Yeah.
business, so we didn't get into like the nitty gritty of like the insured side, because what we thought is like bringing someone on that had more experience in that side would benefit us because that's not something that we do a lot of, and then we could
Right. And
train.
you can, that other part's learnable
Yeah,
anyway. If you can do the being private, you can learn this
yeah,
shirt.
exactly, and that's exactly what we thought we could train. And also the person we hired, like it was clear through the um, interview that she's like very good with tech, um, and that she would kind of improve our processes as we went. And
How could you tell she was good with tech just from the interview?
so just questions we asked, has there been a situation where, you've recommended a change to improve the process? And she talked about kind of those processes, and things that, that she had recommended. Um, and she's already done it in our like from the very first week,
Right.
things that she was recommending that we do to speed up our
Okay, I
process.
want to. That's amazing, dude. This is such a awesome conversation. I promise you, brokers are going to be listening to this, going, "Dang, why don't I do that?" That's what they're going to think. They're going to say, "Why have I not done this?" And you're literally giving them a blueprint for exactly how you guys did it, which is start by getting on the same page with your
Yeah,
brokers, the people that you're going to share the system with. There's no world where this works if you didn't do that.
yeah,
Like it
I
would
think
be a
that's the most
catastrophe.
important part. And then
Yeah,
obviously we didn't want to bring someone into like chaos,
yeah.
because then it wouldn't last.
So you said you're building out more automations and stuff. So are you guys who's doing that, and are you getting somebody to help you install them, or are you guys installing them? I'm
Yeah.
curious what you're doing there.
So we're all using MyBroker Pro, which is through Sarah. So they already have like an automated system, and so we're tailoring it to what we want. So we went like line by line on an Excel sheet, uh, what our steps are, and then what we want to happen, and what we want like the trigger to be, and then what we want to the action from that trigger to be. So we created what that looked like on an Excel sheet, line by line, for our whole process. We took it to MyBroker Pro, and so we actually meet right now once a week with like one of their programmers, who will kind of like he's doing one section at a time, and then we'll come back and meet, and then he'll like take on the next section.
Right. The reason I bring that up is I didn't know for sure, but highly suspected you guys weren't actually installing this. Because here's the mistake I see brokers make: is they go, I got to put all these processes in place. They stop working, stop doing the thing, which is talking to clients, prospecting, and they stop making money while they're installing this. And you're way better off to, like you did. You just created hey, here's the blueprint or the what I want done, and let someone else install it for you, because they're going to move much faster than you, and it'll be done properly. You're going to make yourself crazy trying to do it.
Yeah, way faster. Like I think it's going to be done in a couple weeks, and it probably would have taken us months to go in the back
It
end.
would have taken, and you wouldn't get the benefit. You would not get the benefit of all those automations for months,
Yeah,
and you would lose the time that you could spend going to find more business
yeah,
to pay for the installation of all of these customizations, essentially, right?
for sure.
Dude, I'm so impressed with what you guys are doing. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think would be helpful for people listening?
Yeah, I think just the biggest thing for me that like changed my business and obviously changed my life was just pick up the phone and make the calls. For agents that are already at Bricks, like we have the program. Like all I did is follow our program, and it does work, but you just have to do it. For agents that are already busy, I think another thing that I really focus on that helps me is reaching out to listing agents.
Right. So now your only real marketing prospect is your current files. So you turn when you get referrals from people that you're working clients, but then the prospecting outbound is on listing agents, right?
Exactly. So I just focus on making sure it's a good process, and it's like little things, just updating them. Hey, an appraisal is needed. You're going to be getting a call from this appraiser. Just can you just let me know when they call? Just to make sure it's scheduled. I want to make sure that this is going to be wrapped up quickly.
Yeah. And then, so has that been working?
Yeah, it's worked. Even just this year already, I picked up I picked up multiple listing agents, but I've closed deals with 2 listing agents that I closed.
Right. That they basically got to see your work firsthand.
Yeah,
And you used lots of communication throughout the process
yeah,
to build that initial rapport. And then do you still do a presentation with them? Do you still do a
yeah,
4 slide?
yeah. So I just kind of do my 4 slide, tell them what my keys are. I think the most important thing of my presentation is definitely the communication.
Hmm.
I think that's what most like realtor partners are looking for, and that's what I'm showcasing by
Yeah,
my.
you're proving it. You're not just saying, "Hey, I've got good community." It's like they see it and then they go, "Oh, okay." So then it's a warm sale or a warm
Yeah,
lead compared to what you did at the beginning, which anybody has to do. You got to start somewhere, and you just did it.
yeah,
So I do want to ask one more question about the calling. So did you ever have any call reluctance? Did you ever have any like? How did you get through that?
yeah.
Because sometimes people go, "This sounds great, but I'm afraid. I don't want to make walk me through what you did there."
Yeah, so I definitely did at the beginning, but there was a lot of scripting on kind of objection handling and stuff like that, and the scripting that the objections that came up were always what was on the scripting, and I just got better as I went along, and then kind of the thing that really took off is we did the battle royale like a couple years ago. I don't think it was called battle
Yeah.
royale, but it was called something else
Yeah.
in 2023. And so yeah, it was a game, and I wanted to win and get the chance to go to Kelowna and kind of work on my business with you.
Yeah.
That's kind of what got me over the hump.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That was a good campaign. Okay, man. Well, hey, thanks. Where do people find you online?
Instagram, Jay the Mortgage Guy. It's my website as well, jaythemortgageguy.ca. You'll find me on Facebook as well.
Right. Thanks, buddy.
Awesome.
Hey, thanks again for listening, and hopefully you felt inspired. I know I was from Jason's just really systematic approach to creating a scalable solution, scalable business. And none of this stuff is like you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is mind blowing. But it's just he did it in the right order, and they did it very strategically. And I think if this is something you want to do, if you eventually want to share an assistant and or scale without increasing your costs significantly, this is literally a textbook on how to do it. And I think you're gonna absolutely love it. One other thing I'm going to say to you, if you're listening to this and you want to get on the most useful email for mortgage brokers, each week I put an email where I share tips, I share content ideas, things I'm learning about AI tools, and tips and tricks. It's called the 321 email every Thursday. If you go to my Instagram, click on my link tree, you can get on that, or you can message me on Instagram, or you can click on the show notes. You'll find that. I hope to see you in there. It gets a ton of clicks, hundreds and hundreds of clicks every week. Thanks for listening. And as I always say, there's no problem on your mortgage business that hasn't already been solved. Your problem is who's got the answer. Hopefully this episode or these episodes provide some of those answers. And thanks again, and I'll see you on the next episode.